Hey, we are live, and I want to thank you for being here. I'm Danielle Kane, the host of 5D All Day and Spirit Calling. And this is quite a group that we have here that has evolved and expanded since I started this channel with Spirit Calling. So what we like to typically do is introduce ourselves, maybe how long you've been with Spirit Calling, what maybe drove you to this platform and this portal, and then we kind of dive into some conversations. I did want to hear from Pamela and Dina because they had some things that they wanted to share, but if not, like we just kind of let this conversation be very fluid. Nothing's really structured, and that's the way I like it. So thanks for everyone for joining and for people that are listening. But let's start off with Michael. Why don't you just do a little quick intro and then we'll go around.
Sure, I came in August. Started meditating a lot this year. Well, didn't really meditate last year. I did do Tibetan bowls and stuff like that. It was sort of like a meditation. But once I started meditating, I started getting more uh, intuition. I was working my intuition too, so I started hearing voices and dreaming about cobalt blue and stuff like that. So I just keep going down the rabbit holes of spirituality, and it's like it seems to be getting faster and faster as I go along here.
Hmm. And so
Yeah.
you found spirit calling through your
Well, I was going
journey.
through YouTube, and I've been watching like near-death uh, experiences and stuff like that because my wife died of ovarian cancer last year. So, and I was doing spiritual stuff before she died. So, I just found that, and I also suffer from a lot of illnesses, and I found that when I focused on spirituality, my chronic illnesses started to mitigate or get better, or I was just addressing the causes or the root causes of holding in all that trauma, and
Mhm.
so you hold in the trauma, it sort of like acerbates your health system, your physical body. So I discovered as I'm addressing and being honest with myself and being honest with my spirituality, it seems to be getting better and better. I'm getting healthier, mind,
Wonderful.
body, and soul too. So
Yes, love it.
yeah,
Well, thank you
yeah,
for your vulnerability and sharing. I appreciate that.
yeah, no problem.
Let's see, Brenda, you want to tell us a little bit about you?
I'm brand new to spirit calling, been here for about a week.
Woo! Yeah,
Yeah,
girl. Jumping on a call already. I love
yeah,
it.
yeah. But my um I've known ever since I was little that I was different and always kind of kept myself real small to protect myself because of what people would think. I'm very, very empathic and
Mhm.
I work with people that have disabilities. But when I first started working with people, um, they would feel wonderful when they were around me and maybe get out of their wheelchair and start walking and just love for me to come. But I would go home and just be knocked out for hours, sometimes days. Um, didn't know, I had no idea even what that was, being empathic, but it got to the point where I couldn't work with them anymore. I was just like, I can't go work with them. It's painful to me and it's so hard on me. And I hated that because I loved them and I knew they needed my support. But and then I was talking to this woman, I was like trying to get some vitamins or something, and she goes, "Wow, you're an empath and a healer." And I was like, "What is that?" I didn't even know.
Mhm. Mhm.
So kind of put that aside. I still work with people with disabilities now, but I work for the state in a different capacity. So I'm not like one on one with them anymore. But still have a real heart and calling to be in that place to help them because I see their souls
Yeah.
and I see how they shine and how beautiful they are and how they, I mean, they just inspire me every day because they find joy in just um, being alive. And it's
Ah,
very humbling and
that's
to be around that.
amazing.
But anyway, so the last few months, I was just really shaken up with a very rapid awakening
Hmm.
and whole life just turned around 180.
Right. And it's
Didn't
like,
have
there's no
anybody
going back at
to talk
that point, you
to.
know?
If I tell anybody some of the things that were happening to me, I mean, I was astro traveling and lucid dreams and all kinds of, talking to my guides and if I even like my partner, if I talk about it, I feel like they're going to lock me up or something because yeah, that's kind of strange. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I joined this group just for support and have someone to
Well, you're in
talk
the
to.
right place, sister. I'll tell you that.
Thank you.
Yes, and it's everybody's journey is a little bit different and how they wake up and how they get the call or how they get I I'm an empath too. I had no idea what that meant and I could I could feel people's energy.
Yes.
And I own a gym and I actually started doing hypnosis, and even with hypnosis I have to be careful because it required a lot of recovery for me. And so, I totally can relate to wanting the need to serve, but also knowing at what capacity that means for you and to be able to create the abundance in your life as well as others. So thank you for sharing that. And we can dive deeper into that in a little bit, but thank you.
Yeah.
Jason, go ahead if you have a moment. Tell us a little bit about what called you to come to Spirit Calling and a little bit about yourself.
There we go.
Mhm.
So I don't have any like crazy story. I grew up super religious. 2011, I kind of left a bunch of that behind, but I knew that there was a lot more to life in general than just thinking there was nothing there. And so that was kind of one of my first big steps is getting out of the religious side, more into the spiritual side. And it's been a journey since then of realizing that really just trying to unlearn a lot of things, I feel like.
Mhm.
But I feel like in July of this year, something has been like that I can't shake off, and I don't know how to describe it. Of
Mm.
where I just feel like there's something out there that I'm supposed to be doing, and I'm trying to figure out what it is I'm supposed to be doing.
Mm.
So in July, I started just YouTube and different things, TikTok and different things. And that's actually how I found you guys. I saw Pamela on TikTok.
Hmm.
It's like, I'm going to go check this out and see what it is. And so I have a construction business, have a quite a few employees, so it keeps us pretty busy over here.
Yeah.
But I just feel like there's something more of something I'm supposed to be doing, and I can feel it. I don't know what it is I'm feeling, but I can feel it. It's just like I just I want to be able to help those around me more. And so
Yes.
that's kind of me in a nutshell.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing. I can relate a lot to you as well because I own a gym and I'm a little all over the place, but I'm at that point in my life too where I feel like there's more to than just the daily grind. There's more than just this everyday Groundhog
Right.
Day kind of thing, and we're supposed to be doing more.
Right.
I feel like I'm right at that point too. Like I feel like we're about to explore what that is. So
Right.
thank you for
Well,
sharing
it's
that.
a little bit like Brenda said too. I kind of joined it because some of the things I would talk to my partner about, it was just like, "Are you crazy?" And I'm like, "Man, I got to be careful here a little bit.
Yeah.
I need to figure out how to explore this and how to help those around me to, well, and not even that, just be able to have that support and understanding because I don't want people to think you're crazy, but at the same time, there's something very real happening.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And it's hard not to have somebody to share that with. Oh,
Right.
sorry.
It is.
Oh, no, please interject and talk. That's what we're here. I think I already know where I want to start today. So, but want to introduce Madeline real quick, and then we'll kind of just let the conversation flow with what, needs to be said. So, Madeline, please tell us a little bit about you and how you came to find Spirit Calling.
Okay, well, I love telling this story because I actually Pamela, the creator of Spirit Calling, I met her at a meetup event. It was like a drum circle. Um and so we met there and we introduced ourselves and we had a good time and stuff. But then we went our separate ways. She moved to another state, I went on with my life. And like a few months later, she just happened to be back visiting family. and we just randomly ran into each other in like a plaza parking lot. And I just heard somebody like yelling my name, and I turned around and it was her.
Mm.
And then we had we talked for a little bit, and she was telling me about the Spirit Calling platform and everything. And we both kind of felt like it was like beyond coincidental, sort of, to run into each other again like that. And we both felt like it was like maybe like the universe uh trying to bring this what do you call it, platform, like, to me, like, as something that could be beneficial to me, and that was last year. And I've been on Spirit Calling since last year, and I definitely really enjoy it. And I think one of the best things probably is, like, everybody else mentioned, is like there's not a lot of places where you can just like openly talk about certain things,
Mm.
without people being like very confused, or I guess a little judgmental, or I don't know, thinking you're crazy and things like that. So it's nice to have a place to just be able to, openly speak about what you're, experiencing and things like that. And then it feels wonderful too, like when somebody else is like, "Oh yeah, me too," or like, I've had the same experience, or something like that, It's
Absolutely.
it's nice.
It's nice to know when you've gotten to this place wherever of consciousness, right? That you want to have these conversations. And that's exactly
Yeah.
why this channel was created. I knew Pamela personally. She was a member of my gym, and she walked in, she was referred by another client, and she walked into our facility, and it's different than most gyms. It's small, and we do sound healings. And she walked over to our altar, and she's like, "What is this place?" Because she knew she had walked into something very different. And my husband's a healer as well, and he was just telling him a little bit about what she does. And then somehow the quantum healing, hypnotherapy came about. And she goes, "I need to talk to Danielle." And we met, and it was like I became part of Spirit Calling and became a member before we started this 5D All Day podcast. But I had told her, and I had actually started my own podcast prior to that, because I really wanted to hear stories. I wanted to hear stories about what was really happening in the world, and not just this fear tactic on the mainstream media. So I created the Conscious Broadcast, which I did for about a year. And then I really kind of just dove into this and kept this going as I'm still navigating. But I think I'm going to bring that back as well. But I told her I want to have high vibing conversations, and it's going to be 5D all day. And she's like, "Well, let's bring it to Spirit Calling." And so we do this once a month because there's something about it. There's something about like sharing and connecting with one another that has completely changed me as a human, to be able to have these conversations. And it brings my vibration up. We're having a tough time just in life, which we all go through those ups and downs. That this has been really beneficial to the portal, to the group, to the community. And so I'm just honored to be able to have these conversations. So I just wanted to give folks out there a little bit more understanding of like how this even happened. And like, you don't just go to places where people are like, "Hey, you can be a host on my website." So I'm so
Mhm.
grateful to her to be able to do this. And she's been growing, and hence why a lot of you guys are here today. So super, super thankful for you guys showing up. Do any of you guys have any questions about anything about how this channel started or anything like that? Or should we just dive into it?
I don't know that I
Let's
got any
dive in.
questions.
Just dive in.
I'm just here for the
You're just
experience.
here for the ride. All right, good,
Let's
good.
take a
Well,
swim.
let's take a swim. All right. So I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit in hearing your stories and how you got here. I want to talk to you a little bit about what are some of the things that you have questions on in general, or like that you want to talk about, that you're like, "I can't talk about this with anybody because they just think I'm crazy." There's something that happened to me that when I was starting to wake up, I started to think everything I believed wasn't really the truth. It was like I didn't have all the information. So then my reality started to shift. That's where I started. And then I had a session, a hypnosis session. That's how my spiritual awakening really started, although the journey was starting a little bit before that. But then I realized that I was seeing things from like almost a topical view, like a different perspective. Rather than being in it, I was seeing it from further back. So when something seemed to be difficult or hard, I was understanding the lessons when I actually
You were
can.
seeing it from a third person then,
Yeah, I
sort
was
of thing?
seeing it actually,
Yeah,
my higher self was telling me why
yeah.
I had to go through what I had to go through. And I also connected with someone who had crossed over actually. So it was like the frequency and dimensional space that I first tapped into that higher consciousness. So then I understand like, well, I'm holding on when really I'm like, you just have to surrender. So I had to learn lessons of surrender to get to the other side. It's like staring at a bridge and never crossing because of fear or something holding me back or disbelief or not having all the information rather than just going through. So I wanted to ask you guys, what is it that you have questions on, or what is it that you really are seeking at this point? If anyone would like to share that, I would love to hear it.
I would just like to say that I never heard anybody describe like the way that you just described your experience, and I feel like I can really relate to that. And I've never really discussed that with anybody where I feel that too, where sometimes it's like not necessarily an out of body experience, but like you're watching yourself almost go through certain things, and it's like you're aware of what's going on and you're aware of your emotions, and it's like um it's just kind of strange. And sometimes I would think to myself, like, is there something wrong with me? Like my is my con like was my consciousness like damaged or something, like somehow to where I'm not like centered, or
Mhm.
like I'm not like a normal neurotypical like way you're supposed to function. But I do think that sometimes it I can see the benefits of it, like being able to like kind of have like a bird's eye view of like, oh, this situation is like a perfect lesson for something else that like I've been thinking about, or things like that. But I just think that's cool that you just described it that way, and then I feel like I can relate to that.
Yeah, awesome. I mean, like I've been in the thick of it, like thinking like how can someone save me from this deep dark hole because I didn't think that there was any way out and I was seeking somebody else to help me get out. And then I had to realize it's me. It's me that was given this gift of experiencing this lifetime. And then I had to do it. I just had to do it, but I had to understand that the things that I was resisting were really the things that were going to get me out of it. And so I don't know if any of you have experienced something like that, but it's sometimes hard to surrender. It's sometimes hard to, because we're afraid of what's going to happen. And there's these false, what is it they say? Fears is false evidence appearing real sometimes. Like we think the worst case scenario is going to happen. And even if the worst case scenario happens, it's not necessarily what we think it is. And I'm just going to use an example, and I've talked about this openly. We got really messed up from COVID and our businesses, and we had a SBA loan for one of our new gyms that we opened, and they shut us down. As you know, they shut down all the restaurants and gyms, and this gym didn't survive. And so, we had a government loan. They didn't give us any kind of PPP or PLP or whatever it was called, the loans to help us recover. So we had to close and we had to file bankruptcy. And not only that, we had our house as collateral.
Mhm.
So before this, I had done my session. That's the hypnosis session because I was like desperate. I didn't have any spiritual background. I was just surviving. And my sister, I thank her because she guided me down this path of doing crystal bowl healing. I'm like, I don't know what that means. And then she's like, look up Dolores Cannon. So I looked up Dolores Cannon And all of a sudden I got like connected with some weird video about like the Antichrist. I think that was that had my birthday, believe it or not. Anyway, that wasn't the Dolores Cannon video, but it led me to listen to Dolores Cannon. I'm like, God, I feel like I know this information and I don't know why. So I kept on listening, kept on listening. And then I sought a practitioner, and that's where I had that experience where I made the connection for the first time. But in this process, I before we closed everything down, I had already felt okay and told my husband, because we were already having some struggles with that gym, that it's okay if we just surrender now. We're going to be okay. I couldn't give you proof on paper, and that's the problem with, I think, a lot of you guys. You tell people things and they're like, you're crazy. You don't have any facts to prove it, but
Hey,
there's a knowing that you know it's
Daniel,
going to be okay. Yes.
not to cut you off real quick, but you've got a handful of people in the chat that are saying they're trying to join.
Oh, really? Let me
Um,
see.
Diane and Lydia, it looks like.
Really?
And it was a little bit difficult for me to find the link as well. It wasn't in the, it
Oh,
wasn't,
are they in the chat on Spirit Calling?
yes.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. I posted it in the 5D all day.
I would tell them to click events on the
Yeah, that's
left-hand
the,
side.
yep.
Okay.
That's where I
There's
see it.
not a link in the post. You have to go to that events.
Would anyone mind doing that?
Yeah, I can tell them real quick.
I'm so sorry, and I appreciate that. Um, I'm thinking I'm not seeing anybody here because I'm on like Facebook Live too. Okay, cool. Oh, I'm so glad that you guys said something. Um, so I don't want to keep continuing my story, but I think this is relevant to a lot of what you guys are feeling, because if I didn't go through that horrible situation, which wasn't great, but I already knew we were going to be okay, and we made it out okay. You know, we're past that now, and that's like, I actually know now what it's like to kind of go through a bankruptcy. It's like it was a reset, but it was like all these people had to do was put in some numbers and then it's gone. And I'm thinking, what? Like there's something strange about all this and how this is moving. But it gave me the comfort to know that I knew I was guided and we're okay. We're all surviving. And it actually put us and pivot us in a whole new direction, of doing things that we truly love and how we want to serve and continue to serve others and help our family. And we've been closer since all this happened. But that was a little bit about my process, and then during this whole surrender, like connection to our higher selves. Like you can't just talk about this to people that have no clue about frequency and what does that mean. So that's why I wanted to start these conversations, because I know all you guys started to feel something. You started to feel like, wow, I feel I'm hearing things. Am I crazy? No, it's who is that voice? So if anyone would like to go on about their journey in their shift, did something happen, or you started hearing more affirmations, you started seeing 111, or numbers are always a sign for me that, okay, something's happening, something I need to pay attention to. Would anyone like?
I've been seeing angel numbers for 2 years,
Mm-hmm.
mostly 333. Um, the morning my wife died was 333 on my odometer.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was a lot of synchronicities when my wife died during that day when it was happening, but I won't go into that. I'm just saying, but um, I know during COVID, I quit my job in beginning of 2020. It was a bad situation. It was going to make my health worse. And then I noticed that I had to stop doing negative things because it would make me feel bad. And then I started drifting into Gaia. I mentioned this last time, and that started to make me feel better. And then when my wife died last year, just soon after she died, I heard Michael. I go,
Mm-hmm.
oh. And like, and it's just what it was not my voice. It could have been her voice, but then I've heard other voices. Like for example, this morning, a couple voices, different voices, and they just say one word. They just say one word. I don't remember the words now, but I hear people talking, but they're different voices and different words. And I also see like flashes of maybe previous lives. I was seeing like this week I saw like ocean wave coming and crashing.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, stuff like that. So, and then like Candace Hoza, I was with her last week. I was talking to her last week. And then like I discovered that like you gotta when you're on this journey, you have to you can't lie to yourself, right? You gotta face your fears and stuff like that and not lie to yourself. And I was still playing victim with her, and she pointed that out and says, "Yeah, that's true." And then I started playing, and then I when I was talking to her, I noticed I was bringing out part of my personality, and she said she saw some devil horns or something like that
Mm.
coming out, but basically as being mischievous sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that I used to work for a company called IMP Solutions, and I always find it funny that IMP means imp, meaning a mischievous person. So I'm thinking that um in a previous lifetime I was maybe uh uh an elf or a spiritual elf or something like that. Um the other thing I've been diving into is like I was uh there's a new member, and she does what's her name? Um, she's Doctor it's a Doctor Lisa Thompson. She's one of her new members. She's a
Okay.
spiritual ambassador. So I did the meditation to discover your galactic family and guides, and I came in with Andromedans, right?
Me
So
too.
yeah. So, but I found that funny because during July I was having a lot of problems because uh, I Regulus is a very strong, prominent thing in my galactic uh, ancestry.
Hmm.
Regulus, the planet. So, and I'm a Leo too. So everything was synchronizing with that. So, and I was getting a lot of feelings from that. So I was surprised it wasn't Regulus or from that system, but it was Andromedans I pictured when I went into the meditation. So I'm really digging into these holes and finding out um, uh, previous lives and exploring that. Uh, but anyway,
Yeah.
that's how.
No, it's
So
well, and that's kind
yeah,
of how it goes too, because I think again, I'm gonna relate to my experience too. There's certain things that all of a sudden you're learning like what a star seed is, right? Do any of you guys,
yeah,
can anyone here like raise your hand if you know what a star seed is? Okay.
Well, I
yeah,
had to learn. I didn't know what
So
it was.
yeah, so this we can go down many rabbit holes here, but
Mhm.
so the whole starseed thing came about since Michael, you brought it up, was all of a sudden in these conversations, because I started going, on Telegram, listening to these people that if you're not familiar with Telegram, Telegram has a ton of information. That's how I met Nicole from Awakening Mass Meditations. But people start putting stuff out and information out that I again was like, it was another Dolores Cannon moment. Like, what is that all about? Like, maybe find out who your star seed is and if you're a light worker. And so I looked it up and I like started putting in information in this, I guess, a survey. And it turns out that I was like Andromedan or something like you were saying. And so people
yeah.
think Palladian and there's also different
I'm
star
Pleiadian
seed.
also, right?
Mhm.
So
You can be both. Oh, Pamela's
yeah,
coming in. And so again, that's just something I think that if you're going to venture down the star seed, which I think it's fun. It's something that maybe will describe a little bit about who you truly are in many lifetimes. Again, you might come from religion and not believe in reincarnation, or maybe this is the thing, maybe you're exploring it. I was very open to possibility, and I think that's the biggest part of this journey is that religion, in my opinion, always felt like I was very small and I was put in a box and I couldn't look outside the box. There was no, no. And it made me feel very sad. I already had a very low self-esteem anyway. I didn't feel worthy. I didn't feel like if I'm constantly worrying about the sins that I'm doing, like how can I continue? How do you even go about your day? So thankfully, my parents were non-denominational. Maddie, my parents went to the Unitarian Church growing up.
Yeah.
And so again, like I told you guys, I wasn't spiritual at all. I was just like, how can I survive the day? At one point, I was just like, I just want to help provide for my family. So I didn't really have much. And then boom, I had my awakening. And then it started making sense that there are pieces of a lot of great things, but that I always try to remain open-minded because belief systems really can block out what you're about to discover.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that's what I had to learn. Yeah. Um, Brenda, I'm interested. Hi, Pamela. I can't believe she's here. She just said she was like traveling. She's in an Uber driver. Look at her. She is amazing. Well,
Committed.
you are so committed. I'm so glad we have such a great.
Hi,
Hi.
can you
Hi.
hear me? I'm so sorry.
Yes.
I'm so excited to see all these faces.
I
It's
know.
great.
Isn't
Hi,
it
guys.
beautiful? It's so
Yeah, and
amazing.
I'm sorry to have missed. I'm taking a break and I'm so excited to be having a little holiday this weekend, but I'm really sad that I'm missing meeting everyone in person. So great to see you guys.
Yes.
Me
It's
too.
I'm so glad you chimed in, and I understand the challenges of trying to make all these meetings. We all have kind of multiple lives happening at once.
We're
Right?
all juggling, but
All
but
juggling.
from what I heard, it's almost as if this is a continuation of a conversation that I had with another new member last evening, Michael Ruth, and it was about religion, expectations, boundaries, understanding, like alignments.
Yeah.
Is this something that I really believe in? Do I want to be a part of this? And what is God, universe, all like expecting from me, want from me, directing me? Like it's so interesting. So I'm
Yeah.
happy to listen and maybe chime in every now and then.
Perfect. Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you guys.
Um, okay. So I think kind of what I said, Jason, I honestly would love to hear what you have to say too. And Brenda, because I feel like, Jason, you were telling me you came from a very religious background, and how are you feeling kind of branching out and exploring, because oftentimes what we're saying is like a no-no, and I know what it's like to be in communities that of loving people, but I can't deny who I am and my exploration of like what we really don't know. Like, so I try to not like shut any doors because I'm constantly learning. So what do you think about like where you are right now and all this with how you've grown up?
I'm super grateful for where I'm at right now from where I was. Like it's the type of religion was like if you leave, you're excommunicated. And like for us, like my mom and dad are still there. So I've
Yeah.
had no communication with them since 2012.
Ooh,
And some of my sisters are still there. So I've come from a large family. There's 15 of us. I got 14 siblings, and
wow.
not be able to have that communication has been tough. But my brothers have slowly been coming out on leaving, and actually the last one just left like 5 or 6 months ago, and so that's been super rewarding.
Yeah.
But like for me, the awakening part of trying to unlearn so many things, because I really did. I believed it with all my heart. I was
Yeah.
28 years in that religion. Thankfully, I didn't have a partner at that time, didn't have any kids, and so that separation was easier than I think could have been otherwise. But I really, really believed it with all my heart. And it's interesting because as I go down the spiritual journey, I see like sprinkles of truths that they had in it with it.
Yeah.
But there's been so many things that's been, I don't know if it's been hard to overcome or if I've just have ignored it in a sense, to just be like, yeah, I knew that wasn't right from the get go. But it's been a really good journey, to realize that the whole concept of God is so much different in my mind right now than it was even 5 years ago, or the concept of source or spirit or our spirit guides, like whatever you want to call it. I teach my kids all of it. It's just like you can call it God, you can call it spirit, you can call it source, whatever you want to call
That's
it.
great.
And I feel so much more at peace than I have in a long time. But I also feel like for me, I feel like there's something more that I should be doing, and I just don't know what that is. And so that's kind of what's led me to this community, is just being able to have those conversations, because I've listened to a lot of different things, but I feel like the people in general, like I've just been sleepwalking for 35 years is the best way I can describe it.
Well, you're right on, because this is like almost like a mass hypnosis, and we're
Right.
waking up out of into this reality that we're supposed to wake up to, and people are still asleep. you know, and that's okay because everybody's journey is at a different time. So
Right.
I loved what you said though, because I could already feel like prior to whatever religion you were in, it didn't feel like you were able to fully express yourself and the
Right.
love that you have. And now you can actually see it when you smile and you can talk to your kids about it. And it's not like anything's wrong. It's just it just advanced who
Right.
you are. And it's now going to spread out among your family. And it's going to create, now this is about the generations coming after, right? So
Right.
that's beautiful. I think like right now you're just in flow and on it, on the journey.
Well, thanks.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying it.
That's great. Well, thank you for sharing. And hi, Lydia. Sorry you had trouble getting on. We had a little technical difficulty with I think the technology out there this time around with this podcast, but I'm glad you made it. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Yay. Now, are you fairly new to the community? If you wouldn't mind sharing briefly just how you came
Yeah,
to Spirit
no,
Calling?
yes, I am sort of new to the community. I think because because it happened in I would say early September because I think I would have missed or I might have been right at the end of August, but I was busy because this only happens once a month, right at the
Yes.
last Friday, right?
Yes.
So that was coming up and I wasn't able to get it on my radar screen, but yeah, I really enjoyed being part of this community and I'm just glad that we're here.
Yes.
It's a
Oh,
lot of the same for there's a lot of the same reasons that I believe that was Jason that was talking.
yeah. Yeah.
Just sort of having a place to go to be part of, and not only that, but I like that how we're able to use technology because I'm out side of Denver right now looking at my mountain range because I just took Cricket for a dog walk and I'm like, I can't make it back to Denver, but guess what? I can sit in my car and I parked it. So I'm looking at this gorgeous view of the Rocky Mountains. I'm just north of Denver because I don't get this view when I'm living in the city. I always try to get out on
That's
the
great.
weekends to do that. So thank you for being here for that as well.
Oh, thank you. I love it. That's the one thing I do love about technology. If we didn't have technology, I would not be having these conversations. And that's how it started when I was on Telegram in a group and people are like, who wants to start talking about New Earth? Now that's another song. But I'm like, I do. I want to talk about New Earth. I
Yeah, me
want to talk about
too.
consciousness. I want to talk about whatever it is. Like I was so on board. And so here we are talking about it. And we can even explore those on different conversations. But I think that this topic really is like powerful to share about how people why they came here, why they're here, what are they seeking? And I think that that is definitely beneficial for people that might be hearing this for the first time. Brenda, would you mind sharing a little bit about, your shift in what you're dealing with? Because like I think being an empath, that's another thing. Does anybody know or not know what an empath is? I think everybody does. Okay.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I
Good,
know.
good. So I realized I didn't know what an empath was either until again I started going down this journey and then I did a survey. It's like that's what I had to do. I had to qualify myself as an empath. But I would take on people's energy and someone would be angry. And then all of a sudden I'd be like angry. I'm like, why am I getting angry? I'm not even angry. And then I'm like, wait a minute, I just gotta like shake it off and or approach that person and or like so some of the members would come in and I felt like we did something wrong and I could feel them like deeply. So I really had to learn that that wasn't mine. And again, Brenda, I think that's kind of what you were dealing
Yeah.
with your work. So tell me a little bit how you're navigating who you are and this new role and or the role in just becoming you, the new you.
Yeah. Well, I'm learning about energy and how to protect myself, which has made a huge difference. I put a I put myself in a bubble of light before I go anywhere. And if I start feeling something break through, and I spend a lot of time grounding.
Mm.
I have a tree that I go to that I live in Arizona. So
Oh,
you can't
nice.
just walk in the grass or lay down. It's hard. So
What part of Arizona are you located?
I'm south of Tucson, about 30
Okay.
miles south of Tucson in Green Valley.
Awesome. I went there for I took a trip around the US and we ended up in Tucson and no
Yeah.
one told us they have the monsoons. I had no idea what that meant. So I was like, oh, but the beautiful sunsets that come with it is just
The
fabulous.
sunrises too.
Oh,
I get up every
okay.
morning just to see the sunrise. It's gorgeous.
Yeah. Okay, so you have special places for protection. And a lot of people don't tell you that, and a lot of times, like,
And the grounding helps
yeah.
so much.
Wouldn't it be nice if we were taught that? Like getting
Yes.
our feet in the ground would be really beneficial because we're actually batteries, right? And the earth like charges us,
Yeah.
as we go through our day. So that's super important because, we're detached when we're wearing our shoes. So it's really important to make sure that we are taking the socks and shoes off and getting our feet in the grass. Even in temperatures that aren't so pleasant, it still is really great to connect to Mother. We get so much from that. And so I appreciate you sharing that and then making it intentional, creating the protection. We have our guides for protection. Something that, you hear a lot with religion is like these crystals. I'm like, well, they're from the earth, and they're very beneficial. And I can't tell you how I've used to work with them. And but it is also good to clear them, and it's good to
Yeah, I got
set
one.
intention behind the things that is so helpful for our energetic beings because we're all energy at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah. I can feel my children. I have
Mm.
7 children. I woke up one morning and I just started crying, and I don't do that. And I took my dogs on a walk, didn't get better. I cried harder. So all of a sudden I get home and I realized, and I wasn't around anybody. So I knew it wasn't anybody's energy I was picking up. And if it gets worse on a walk, it's definitely because usually I can calm down on a walk if something's happening. And so I got home and I sat down and I just said, who is this? Whose energy am I picking up? And I get Austin, very stern Austin. So I knew, and then I
Wow.
talked to him later and something really horrible had happened, but I knew it was, but my kids, they always say that you got spidey senses. I'm like,
Yeah.
well,
Do
I
you
feel you.
do you find that not only do you feel them, but do you have premonitions before it happens, or is it just it's actually already happened and then you tap in?
I sometimes have dreams, but they're never specific, like not detailed, but I can more metaphoric
Yeah.
dreams, I guess.
Mhm. That's great. That's a great gift that you're exploring and tapping into to help because everybody has something different that they experience. And
Yeah.
I didn't know much about lucid dreaming until later and how we're all capable. Some are actually naturally able to do it more than others, but I had this weird situation happen in college where I was sleep apnea, or is it sleep apnea? Yeah, and my feet were like flying in the air, but I was completely frozen, but my mind was awake. It was like the most terrifying thing. And it was later on told that there was a spirit in that house because I only slept walk and did that in this house. It was really crazy. That's a whole other story. But it
Wow.
just shows you that there's certain things in certain times. Why does this happen? So for you, it seems like it's a gift that you're able to make these connections. Is this something that have recently experienced or
All my life,
all your life? But
all
now
my
you're
life.
starting to understand this.
Even animals, like
Interesting.
I can sense animals' pain and energy,
Yeah.
and people's. That's why I work with people with disabilities, but I love animals too.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Anybody else, please jump in if there's something off what we're saying. I would love for you to go ahead and share something. Otherwise, I'll just keep on going. And Pamela, I so wanted you to be on to share some things that you and Dina were talking about, but I know you're in the middle of like driving. I don't know if she can hear me.
Yeah,
we're-
my connection is kind of like freezing and starting and freezing. So I'm trying to kind of sit in the background, but I'm really enjoying this conversation.
Oh, good.
Lots of stuff happening. Lots
Yeah.
of trying to post as much as I can in the Global Insights and Updates group. So make sure you check that so you're seeing the visions I'm having.
Yeah.
There was a new one, everyone. I know some of you saw it, but I'm not sure if everyone did. But I think it's just I'm sitting here, my heart is just so big watching this interaction happening and watching everyone sharing because this is the intention of this portal. This is why this was created, and this is what spirit wanted for everyone to have a safe place to be able to talk about what they're experiencing, what's happening in their life, their their pulls in different directions and just support and love and guide each other. So thank you for showing up today. And I hope, you guys continue to check out all of the other events that happen during the month as well, because Danielle is such a light, and she's amazing. And if anybody wants to get to know each other more, go in the portal, go in the chat, send each other a message or post on the activity and just start a conversation there too. I want to make sure that you guys know to do that. Okay.
Sounds great. I used the video option. I do love that. You know
I
that.
loved it. It makes me so happy. Yes.
I was like, yay, technology. It's exciting. That's what we're capable of doing. I mean, wow,
Yeah.
it's so exciting, and so exciting to be able to see people talk about this stuff, because this is what life is, man. Like exploring and then making these little connections about like something that you've experienced that you're like, whoa, I didn't know what that was. And
Yeah.
that we weren't written with a manual, right? It's like almost like,
Yes.
okay,
Yeah.
we go through the process, and then boom, it's like Jason said, it's like all of a sudden I'm seeing the world through different lenses, through a whole set of eyes.
Yes.
And it's like
Yeah.
learning to crawl again and then walk, and it's nice to have the support of other people going through it. And I'm so
It
grateful for
really
the
is.
platform.
Yeah, it really is. And my conversation with Michael last night, it's just I'm so proud of people who are they're moving through the fear to honor and listening to what this tiny little whisper is inside saying. Like he was talking about his pastor, and he loves the people in his church, but there are things that are just not resonating. And I've heard that so many times. And it's not a good or a bad thing. It's where you are right now. Every experience leads you to the next one, gives you more knowledge, opens up that crack, that consciousness to learn more, to see more, like Jason said. And it's the beginning of, like, I see people being in leadership. I see everyone who's here like teaching eventually what they know to guide others, because that's what happens. Like you said, Danielle, it's like the spark. You've always said it's that ignition. It's happening through one. We're igniting others. But Brenda and Jason, I haven't had a chance to have a conversation with you guys yet, so we'll have to schedule something in the next couple of weeks. So I'd love to meet you both and hear your story personally and exchange your energy. And Lydia, it's so good to see you. I see you sometimes on TikTok, and Michael, I see you at Feed. And Madeline, I'm happy that you're feeling better and you have some wins and you posted them. It's awesome to hear that. So I'm happy to hear that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes. And I
You're
want to thank
welcome.
you, Pamela. Pamela has stuck through this, guys. Like I said, I've known her before this was like just a thought. And like she just really trusted that this would be needed because the guides told her, but she also trusted in her being. And I'm so grateful to have seen it. I've seen it and witnessed it. And I'm just elated for you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for providing.
Oh my gosh, you guys. It makes me so happy. You're making me so happy. It's
so
wonderful.
Great.
Yeah, it makes my heart so happy. I'm grateful for all of you.
Yes, yes.
Same to you, Pamela.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you so much. I can't wait to meet everybody and just talk to you.
I know. When are we having that big retreat?
I know. 2025, baby. 2025. Mama's working on it.
It's the year. It's going to be a very impactful year. I can feel it for sure.
It totally is. It totally is.
Awesome.
Yeah. All right. I'll bow back. So
okay. We've got about 8 more minutes. So, and then we wrap up, but I really, really enjoyed this conversation. I mean, this is kind of like how I do. I love it just to be organic and just how we're feeling. And this is actually the most I've talked in a while. So it's nice. But I love all that you guys are sharing, because I feel like I can resonate with all that you've been going through. And Michael, I know, like, you're still going through the grief process with your wife.
Well, the person who's going through a lot of grief is my daughter. She's really having a hard time. She's the one that doesn't agree with my spirituality at all.
Yeah.
My oldest daughter. Meanwhile, my youngest daughter, she's having dreams and then become true.
Yeah.
She's getting more spiritual, sort of that, like a clairvoyant or something.
Wow. That's amazing. But I mean, even just the process of whether you consider, if you are in a different place, I still know that the loss of a family member can completely, I mean, it shifts everything. So the fact that if you're feeling like you're understanding and going through it and allowing to kind of like, again, let go some of those things that might not let you get to the next level. Because I know you had mentioned anger before, so oftentimes
Yeah,
anger.
well, Candace Hosa noticed some, and then Pamela also noticed that I'm angry, and there's a lot of anger, but we're talking like 45 years of anger I'm
Mm-hmm.
getting through, right? And you
Yeah.
think I'm angry now, you should have saw me 20 years ago.
Yeah. There's anger. No, but anger is one of
Yeah,
those things that oftentimes, especially in the work that I was doing, was the hardest thing. The hardest thing that was plaguing a lot of people with ailments and things like that,
yeah.
where is the root of this anger coming from? And if you've done anything with gene keys too, we come
Why
in
I have.
with wounds, and this could be
Yeah,
anger from who knows if you're a warrior in some type of past life. So it's like we're all
I
kind of
was.
coming, and it could be your ancestors too. Like we come in with true ancestral trauma. Again, this is a whole nother area that I've explored, and sometimes it's allowing us to tap into our ancestors because they went through so much pain and suffering and things like that, and what happened with our communities. So we're born with stuff that we don't even know. And I mean, I see it in the males in my family. There's this deep anger, and they're not, that's not who they are. Those are just a quality that comes out, and it's learning how to embrace the anger, understanding the anger, not being like it's bad. The anger's bad. For my gene keys, it's frustration. That's what comes out when I get upset. I'm frustrated. I don't feel like anyone's supporting me, blah, blah, blah. But it's understanding how to navigate that and understand and respect that that is a tool for you as well. So
Yeah.
hopefully you're doing well with that, because I know that was something you had shared before.
Well, last week I got a massage for the first time.
Oh,
Ooh,
I realized that
good for you.
yeah.
I'm touch deficient.
Okay. Yes.
I need a lot of semantic help here because my wife died last year, and you know
Touch is
I
very important.
have a hard time hugging and stuff like that, and you know so I it's part of the problem, and for some
Mm,
reason when I was talking to Candace Hosa last week, she did some um meditation, and when I did that, a lot of my back pain went away. And then
mm-hmm.
when I did the massage, a lot of that deep back pain went away. So I'm feeling pretty good right now. So
That's interesting. All right. I'm calling
yeah,
all your neighbors. They're coming over to give you a hug. No, I'm just kidding. But that's important. Touch is like, we were just talking about this because I went to a festival,
yeah,
and people I don't know are like ready for a hug. And it's a safe community. So you're not knowing like these people are just, crazies. Everyone is in a like-minded consciousness attending this place. And I just embraced the hug. And he said, this guy was like a specialist on hugs. He's like, when someone's ready to let go, but just going in and just like embracing one another, actually, believe it or not, it's almost like grounding in a way. We are energized by touch. That's why when you
yeah.
have babies, you want a lot of skin to skin time and things like that. So that is definitely something you should explore when you're ready. And I think that even a massage is a great place to start. And if
Yeah,
anyone's a
the guy was
specialist in this,
the massage
please share.
was by a guy. I was feeling it's like 30 years ago. I might feel differently about this. Like it's like no, ignore the ego. Feels
Yeah.
good.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Acceptance. Yeah.
yeah,
Acceptance and allowance of
yeah,
healing. The physical body needs it too.
yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, guys. Anybody else want to say anything before we wrap up? It's the time.
Can I just ask a question about your hypnosis? Could you just
Sure.
talk a little
Absolutely.
bit about that, like what you do?
Yes. So when after my session, I got that in 2018, I believe. I'm trying to remember the exact time. But that was right around the awakening, was 2017, 2018, right after my son was born. I was really psychic with pregnancy to talk about like, okay, so remember I told you about that bankruptcy? So
Mhm.
my husband wanted to open up this ninja gym, and I'm like instantly knew it was not good, like from the get-go. And it took a lot for people to like try to get me on board, but ultimately I ended up signing the paperwork, and then you know the rest of the story, right? But
Yeah.
I guess I just knew that's the ride I needed to join. And my son was born, and then life progressed, and then I got this session. And after the session, I was like, is this something I'm supposed to do? I respond, again, going to human design. And that's another thing that we were talking about. Gene Keys and human design is another approach of trying to understand who you are, but I respond through my gut. So I knew when that experience was going to be bad. I already felt it within my being, like, this is not good, but okay, here we go. So I said to myself, I think I'm meant to do this hypnosis. So I actually got another session, and then I said, okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to jump in and get certified. So I had to I had to take the course, and then I had to practice on some individuals, and started doing that. And I'd meet them in person. And I think Michael might have gotten a session as well. Every
Yeah,
session.
I had one last month. Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Every
Or
session.
July, quantum healing technique. Yeah.
Yes. Every
Yeah.
session's a
Yeah.
little bit different. And so for me, we all go into this state of theta naturally, right before we wake up and right before we go to sleep. So we expand that space. So it's something very natural. It's just something that we do to try to get the answers that are within us. And so as I continue to do this technique, I started a podcast called The Conscious Broadcast, and I started interviewing people that were doing Gene Keys because I didn't know anything about Gene Keys. I interviewed
That's the
Pamela.
first time I've heard that
Yeah,
term.
I
I have to
interviewed
look that
Pamela.
up.
Everything that and I'm curious. So I'm like, I gotta try this, you know. Everyone I talked to, I'm like, I'm gonna be doing that, I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna do that. And so I ran into another hypnotherapist who had done some entity release and clearing. And that was a whole new thing because I didn't hear anything about entities. I didn't know anything about attachments. I'm still on this journey like everybody else, you know? And so then I got certified in another technique to add protection and clearing before going into session because guys, we're at this state right now where we're seeing everything. You know, you're seeing what's outside. Before we couldn't see the dark lurking, but they're there and they'll attach to the light workers or the light beings or the people that are seeking to shut them down. Anything they can do to shut you down, they will do it. Right now, we're going through a beautiful shift where the light is shining nice and bright. So, but I do believe protection, like you said, Brenda, is very important. So I learned that aspect that I attach to the front end before I do sessions. But it does require a lot of work to hold the space. And I don't heal people. I am there to, and some other people are healers in different ways. I hold the space so people can truly tap into who they need to hear from, which is themselves, and they do the healing. And I've had amazing sessions. I mean, I've worked with a lot of people that are somnambulists, which are people that completely go into the deepest levels of theta, where they don't recall the whole session at all. And we've traveled to various places in different lifetimes. My husband is actually a somnambulist, and he won't let me play as much. He let me practice a couple times, but amazing stuff, like talking about a lot of things in this lifetime he's connecting to from past lives. So he was an aboriginal in one of his lifetimes, and he always wanted to play the didgeridoo in this lifetime, and he had no background with the didgeridoo. And so I bought him one from Australia, and this is his passion. This is what he wants to do all the time. And it turns out that he related that lifetime to when he was like the one of the people that were, I guess the leader of a group that ended up dying on this table. And then he ended up going in to some other dimensional space and holding Earth because Earth's axis was tilting. And he
Whoa.
held the Earth and he's like, I'm burning. I mean, you couldn't explain the type of emotion that was going on in the session. And then he was meant to send light workers back to Earth to heal it. And I'm like, what? And I've heard this stuff in Dolores Canyon, and here it's coming out of my husband's mouth. So this is where I was like, oh my gosh. And then when we go after we go through an experience, some type of past life or future life or connection with source or you name it, it happens. Then we ask to speak to the higher self and why they shared this information and ask questions that we bring in. And Brian shared, our Danielle and I soulmates. And he said, his higher self said, she came back for me. And I'm telling you guys, like, I can't tell you how many times I've cried and been like, why am I here? I know I was in the angelic realm before here, but I know I got the call. I know I got the call to come back. I can't tell you any other reason other than hearing that was like, oh my gosh, we are going to change. We're here to change. This is the best time to be here on the planet because we're shifting Earth, and Earth is changing. We're changing all at the same time. And so I started to understand what New Earth was when we were sending these souls back to Earth, and how important it is to be here. So that's a little bit about the work that I do.
Wow, that's awesome.
It's amazing.
Thank you
It's
for
amazing when you
sharing.
can work with people like this. And I love to help people. And so I'm helping in different capacities. So I have it's like all about the mind body abundance experience. And that's what I love to do. And I love having these conversations are really, really, really my passion because we're all together in this journey. This is like our one consciousness of exploring what we're all seeking, right? And so I can't tell you how excited I am that you guys are all
The
here.
energy is great.
Oh, thank you. Just to have this talk right now about what could be or what is or what we've experienced, it lights me up. It really does. So I'm so glad you guys could join me today. And I know we went over a little bit, but thanks for asking about the hypnosis. I gave you kind of like a broad overview, but I felt like that's what needed to be said. I hope I answered
Yeah,
your question.
fascinating.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll look
All
into
right.
it.
All right, everybody. Well, I'm going to start wrapping up here. I want to thank you again for coming. For anybody that is watching on YouTube, this is Spirit Calling. This is the group of people part of our community. You can be a community member. You can even explore the journey for 7 days free at spirit-calling.com. And I'd love for you to be part of these conversations. They're amazing. I do them once a month, the last Friday of every month. So I'm looking forward to seeing you guys next month. It's October, right? So gosh, here we go. Here we go. And if you ever have any questions on like things that you really want to dive into, please, don't hesitate to ask me to bring them up or just bring it up during the conversation.
Okay.
All right, lovely people. Enjoy your weekend.
Thanks, Danielle. We appreciate it.
Bye.
Thanks, guys, so
Thanks,
much.
Thanks,
Danielle.
everybody.
Take care.
Everybody have a
Bye,
Bye-bye.
great
everyone.
weekend.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Have fun,
Yeah.
Pamela.
Yeah, have fun, Pamela. We love you. Have a great trip.
Thank you. Thank you guys. Love you too. Bye.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye-bye.